Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, Energy Minister Dr. Rudal Munilal describes the restart of the Point-a-Pier refinery as a central part of the government's international energy strategy, with discussions now underway with Indian energy companies as TNT seeks partners to bring the facility back into operation. Munilal led a TNT delegation last Thursday in a series of bilateral meetings and an exhibition tour with a wide cross-section of international companies. Among the companies engaged were Reliance Industries Limited, ExxonMobil, Shell, Total Energies, and KBC Engineering. The minister stated that the talk centered on positioning TNT as an investment-ready jurisdiction while advancing plans to restart the Point-a-Pier refinery. I hope it restarts in much quicker than they have predicted, which was probably by the ending of this year or probably even next year. Give credit when credit is due. I've been saying this long even before UNC even won the elections, that Petrotrin needs to be reopened. It is the backbone of the energy industry here in Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, the backbone of our economy. Once Petrotrin is reopened, people, we are going to be generating a whole lot more foreign revenue. Behave yourselves. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar promises tough actions against criminals. Behave yourselves or another state of emergency will be called. Now, you see, this is why. First story here in the news report, wonderful news, and then the UNC continues to make types of controversial statements, undemocratic statements that will end up costing them the elections in 2030. Now, people will say, so what? You're defending, why it is you are saying that? I am 100% in support of fighting crime, but you have to implement proper, normal measures, policies in order to do that. You cannot govern a nation using a state of emergency, people. You cannot fight crime using a state of emergency. It is just something that gives an appearance as though crime is being reduced, but that is not what is actually taking place. Because when the state of emergency expires, the same individuals that you're holding in custody without a trial, they have to be released back into society. What you're going to do? Govern the nation using an SOE for the next 4.5 years? You cannot continue that way, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar. I'm telling you, the time has come that Minister of Homeland Security needs to relieve himself of his duties or be replaced by the Prime Minister. But anyhow, getting back to this, the news report, that's the warning Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar issued yesterday evening to gangs and detainees held during the state of emergency, who were released as it came to an end at midnight. My response, you all can remember this. Do not transform our nation into a police state. Listen to it carefully. Do any of you remember UNC activists, including myself? I'm not a very famous activist, but I'm still an activist. So do any of you remember UNC activists, including myself, saying that for the past 5 years, we were all complaining about the potential of Trinidad and Tobago becoming a police state? All of a sudden, these patriots are now promoting the same draconian strategies used by the PNM, which gives a false impression, as I said earlier, that crime is being reduced. Will the TTPS deal with them inappropriately instead of through proper investigations, arrests, prosecution, and imprisonment? Who is this woman that is leading our country right now? I know that Kamala said she wasn't the same woman who governed back in 2010 to 2015. But I never thought I never thought this is what she meant. Rowley's twin is destroying the United National Congress, people. It is not going to be a viable option in 2030. I can't believe that the famous five and Marsha Walker were right all along. Does that mean that I don't support the United National Congress completely or in any sense? Or the UNC administration in any sense? Or the Kamala Persad administration to an extent? Yes, I still do believe that Trinidad and Tobago will prosper more under the UNC than under the PNM. But as I said in many other videos throughout the last week, You're overshadowing all the good you're doing with the negative policies you're implementing and statements that you're making in the public domain. A message to Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, friends and family, relatives of Joshua Samaru and K.S. Seeley gathered at Woodford Square, Port of Spain on Sunday demanding justice, rightfully so as well. Seeley, 25, was critically injured in a police shooting last week. Samaru, her common-law husband, was killed on the spot. My response: justice, people, must be served. I hope the USA and the rest of the world leaders are aware about the continued extrajudicial killings which are occurring here in Trinidad and Tobago. Roger Alexander, Padarath, and Guevaro, Alistair Guevaro, Commissioner of Police, Alistair Guevaro, must resign or be relieved of their duties as soon as possible. Many of my fellow UNCs were concerned about democracy and citizens' constitutional rights when Emperor Rowley and PNM were in office. But now all of a sudden they're either silent or defending inappropriate actions, statements, and policies being made by this Kamla Persad-Bissessar administration. Declaring that Guyana is positioned as a safe, investable, and opportunity-rich nation, President Irfan Ali has urged Guyanese living abroad to return home, come home, saying Budget 2026 removes long-standing barriers to ownership and offers equal access to investment, tax relief, and government co-financing. Speaking during a wide-ranging Budget 2026 discussion with an all-women panel, the head of the state said the People's Progressive Party Civic Administration Inclusive Development Framework is deliberately structured to bring the diaspora into the center of national economic growth. While I'm quite disappointed by the performance of the Kamla Persad administration, I continue to be impressed by Irfan Ali, the president of Guyana. As the Guyana government continues to explore financing options for the second phase of the Linden to Latham Road Upgrade Project, discussions were held with a number of companies from the United Kingdom. This is according to former British High Commissioner Jane Miller, who departed Guyana after wrapping up a 4-year tenure in Guyana last week. Currently, there's some £3 billion in funding available under the United Kingdom Export Finance UKEF, which is available for the Guyana government to tap into and possibly fund all the Weather Road upgrade. Wow, that's a lot of money, eh? President Dr. Irfan Ali had previously hinted at utilizing this UKEF facility to finance phase 2 of the critical road project. Why not? Of course. In fact, the Guyanese head of state is currently, or at least up to yesterday, in London and recently met with the Chief Executive Officer of the UKEF, Tim Reid, to discuss key infrastructure projects in Guyana. But according to Miller, there have already been engagements between Guyana government and British companies on this project. It's really wonderful. It's refreshing to see the amount of development taking place and investment taking place in Guyana, and at an exponential rate. The Cayman Islands government has sent US $1 million to Jamaica, being a brother's keeper. In other words, that's wonderful news, to help the island recover from the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa. This was part of the US $1.2 million pledge made in October last year in the wake of the hurricane. Keeping their promise. The money will be used for a community voucher program, education recovery, and agricultural restoration. Let's just hope that the money actually reaches the people. For the first time in nearly half a century, a new primary aluminum smelter is being built in the United States. But this is not just an American industrial story I'm talking about here. It carries important implications for Jamaica's bauxite and alumina sector. The significance was grasped by Floyd Green, the mining minister in Jamaica, who quickly affirmed Jamaica's interest in this development. Anything that can assist in the development or recovery process in Jamaica will definitely be welcomed. International news now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with, as India's Prime Minister, of course, spoke with Venezuela's acting President Delcy Rodriguez in a key diplomatic exchange where both leaders agreed to further deepen and expand their bilateral partnership in all areas, with a shared vision of taking India-Venezuela relations to new heights in the years ahead. The call underlined a commitment to strengthen cooperation across trade, energy, and strategic ties, reflecting growing global dynamics in energy and commerce. This is wonderful news for Venezuela and for India, of course. But please, Modi, Prime Minister Modi, let good sense prevail and ensure that you're not going to be sort of violating any sorts of terms and conditions of agreements, trade agreements that you have with the United States of America, which is a much larger trading partner to Venezuela. We want everything to end up working out, and as long as democracy is restored in Venezuela, everything will be much better. And we here in Trinidad and Tobago will also benefit. Because why? Diplomacy, full diplomatic relations with the USA will be restored, and therefore all trading agreements will be restored as well. During a high-profile visit to Beijing, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, UK's Prime Minister, secured a landmark agreement with President Xi Jinping that significantly changes how British citizens travel to China. Under this new policy, British passport holders will be allowed to enter mainland China for up to 30 days without needing to apply for a visa beforehand. Now, of course, this is good news. This is welcomed news for the people who are living in Britain. But I just continue to be concerned about how even like whether it's the UK or it's India or whatsoever, continue to align themselves even more closely with countries like China and Russia and so forth, and seem to be distancing themselves from the United States of America. People, we need to preserve democracy in the world and also Western civilization values and principles. Closing off now with an interesting facts segment. A 20-year-old lottery winner from Quebec has ignited debate across North America after choosing steady income over instant cash. Brenda Orban Vega won the top prize on a scratch ticket and opted for $1,000 per week for life instead of $1 million lump sum. Her goal, long-term stability and saving for a future home. Well, it takes nearly 19 years to reach the $1 million this way. $1 million this way. Financial experts say annuities can protect young winners from overspending and poor decisions. For many Americans, the story reflects a growing Gen Z preference for predictable passive income over sudden windfalls. Now, I personally would have taken the $1 million to be able to invest in business and so forth. But this is usually a wise decision to make if you know that you cannot really manage your finances properly, and especially when you are younger and will probably want to go traveling and so forth, and you haven't really properly invested a certain significant amount of the funds. Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.